Hello and Assalamualaikum. I am from Tim Hijau 1, will be presenting a project which is titled Sustainable Biodiesel Generation from Microalgae Cultivation and Spent Coffee Ground. Tim Hijau 1 consists of two members, which is the first one is Nurul Farah Adila Rosmahadi and myself, Nur Balkis binti Muhammad Azri. Moving on to the first content of this video, which is the project background. Global energy consumption has been rapidly rising since the 1950s due to the world demand of economic growth, increase in population, and also technological expansion. 86% of the global consumption coming from fossil fuels, in which it leads to the depletion of the fossil fuels as the energy feedstock. Thus, one of the alternatives to encounter this issue is by using the renewable energy. Out of all the renewable energies, biofuels are the most promising sustainable energy that can substitute the function of diesel for the combustion, also eliminating all the environmental issues that occur from the fossil fuels usage. The first and second generation of biofuels are having their limitation in which it creates a competition in the food production and land use, respectively. Thus, in this project, we are going to focus on the third generation of biofuel, which is from the microalgae biomass. Nowadays, the attached microalgae cultivation has received overwhelming attention recently due to its advantages in obtaining higher growth rate, shorter growth period in several previous studies. Researchers also found that microalgae cultivation can be used as one of the feedstock for third generation of biofuel to produce biodiesel, in which, when using microalgae as the feedstock, there will be no issue neither on the food crop nor space for feedstock generation. Cultivation system divided into two categories, suspended and attached cultivation. Most studies have investigated about suspended cultivation, but there are few challenges need to be faced, which are the complicated harvesting procedure that has been led to time consumption and cost compensation. While for attached cultivation, the harvesting procedure could be simpler than suspended, but there is additional cost needed for the carbon source and attached medium. Therefore, we propose in this study that we still choose the attached cultivation as a system due to the simpler harvesting method, but applying a new sport material instead of using inert, we propose to use organic materials. Next, we propose spent coffee ground (SCG) as the solid organic carbon source as well as the attachment medium. Why we chose spent coffee ground first? Because it is the largest agricultural waste that has been generated for beverage industry, which is 18 million pounds per year. Thus, when it is an agricultural waste, it will be cost effective in nature since we could get it for free. It also has 50% of carbon, which is suitable to be the carbon source in the microalgae cultivation. So the advantage of using SCG that it could produce a potential high added value product such as biodiesel and oil pellet. Next advantage is it could eliminate the need to find disposal platform. Cause for your information, the disposal for spent ground coffee is at the landfill could lead to higher carbon footprint, which we all know this is going to be an environmental problem. Finally, the generated biodiesel could have better oxidation stability. Research has shown that SCG have really high oxidation content, which could help to stabilize and degradation of biodiesel in the car engine. Moving on to the project outcome. For the project outcome, as overall based on the optimization study of this project shows only 8 gram of SCG is significant to obtain the highest biomass, which is 2.432 plus minus 0.04 gram. And the microalgae only need 4 hours of light to grow and the rest hours they can survive under the dark regime. In fact, the microalgae produce higher lipid content in only 4 hours exposure to light instead of 24 hours. Here, it can save the cost of electric usage for the light hour. Also, higher lipid content will lead to higher biodiesel production. Next is the biodiesel quality that derived from this project. It shows that the biodiesel composed of 93% of main flame content in biodiesel. This composition was confirmed by the requirements for biodiesel production and the presence of shorter chain fatty acid, which is alkyl ethane with C12 to C18, were important properties for biodiesel. The biodiesel also composed of 67% of saturated fatty acid, in which studies have shown that biodiesel with more unsaturated fatty acid would emit more oxides of nitrogen and smoke with lower thermal efficiency as opposed to biodiesel with more saturated acids. Last but not least, the product residue that not converted into biodiesel can be used into animal feed, bioplastic manufacturing, and oil pellet, in which can be used in the industry. Next, the type of standard that we have achieved for this project. This is the standard for the implementation of the service. The first one is zero waste product. As mentioned before, the residue from the generation of biodiesel still can be used as animal and bioplastic production, also oil pellet. This will avoid the residue from going to the landfill. Next, the high quality biodiesel. As we have known, the high quality biodiesel requires more short chain in the frame composition, and it is quite hard to be obtained. However, this project still put it as a standard, and we believe that it can obtain a great quality biodiesel for the industry. And last but not least, the cost-effective process. The spent coffee ground that we use as the attachment medium and carbon source in this project are cost-free, and it also lower cost operation as the overall than other harvesting process. Next, the prioritization sustainable development goals of this project. It is always important to be committed in working towards the sustainable development goals to ensure our project always give a great impact to the surrounding. Therefore, we are determined and committed to achieve those four goals, which are first, industry, innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, and last but not least, the climate action. The first one is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Currently, generation of biodiesel derived from the attached microalgae cultivation is still a new industry, especially in our country, Malaysia. It will open new more jobs opportunity to the community during the implementation of this innovation later in the industry. And also it could expose the community to a new knowledge in sustaining the energy source. The second goal is go towards sustainable cities and communities. At the beginning of this presentation, I have already mentioned about the global energy consumption that have been increased due to the economic growth and facility development. It is crucial to find an alternative to be the second source of energy in order to avoid the depletion of the fossil fuels. Thus, biodiesel produced from the spent coffee ground and microalgae cultivation could be the new source of the renewable energy, and it could offer a preserved energy source for the future usage. Moreover, the third goal that we want to achieve is responsible consumption and production. Agriculture waste that have been not recycled will be straightly sent into the landfill in order to diminish them. This project could save millions tons of spent coffee ground from rising the carbon footprint in landfill. The more those with large carbon footprint use resources, the more greenhouse gases increase and spur further climate change. Lastly, the final sustainable development goal that we want to achieve is the climate action. Continuous combustion of fossil fuels to produce energy and biodiesel will increase the risk of the greenhouse effect. The usage of spent coffee ground in the attached microalgae cultivation is to replace the fossil fuel, hence that can reduce the environmental pollution by preventing the fuel combustion for energy use. The wow factor that we could determine from this project that this project is novel in applying solid carbon from as the external carbon in the microalgae cultivation. This project also has been a niche in the microalgal field and also paves a new potential of enhancing the microalgal growth from solid nutrients. There are many impacts from this project which include social, environmental and also economical. The impact towards social is offering a new job opportunity since it was a new industry and also a new exposure for the community. Also, it creates a healthy and greener surrounding for the future generation. This also led to the impacts of towards environmental factor in which it will reduce the emission of the carbon dioxide since we are not longer using fossil fuels in the future. Next, we can avoid the soil pollution from the monocropping if we use the second generation biofuels. Monocropping could cause the reduction of nutrients in the soil and also make it hard for the plants to grow healthy. The third one, it can use the carbon footprint in the landfill because we are not going to send the spent coffee ground to the landfill. Instead, we need to produce the biodiesel. For the economical factors, that it could reduces operation costs for the cultivation because we already get the spent coffee ground for free. Then the simple harvesting method also lead to lower cost consumption and energy. Next, since we are using the microalgae, we do not really require large area of the land as the first generation of biofuel. In fact, microalgae could grow faster than other plant crops. Regarding the future plans from this project, as a way forward, the optimization of other abiotic factors towards the microalgal growth onto spent ground coffee could be investigated. Regardless of the cultivation system, microalgae growth will always revolve around the environmental factors, such as the pH and temperature, as well as the various nutrient effects. Certain microalgal species can grow in acidic conditions, but some of them prefer to live in alkali culture. The specific research on the pH effects toward the attached cultivation in employing spent coffee ground as the attachment media and carbon source can be performed to identify the optimum pH. Other than that, the characteristic of the attachment materials still need an in-depth study in terms how to increase the attachment rate between the microalgal cells and spent coffee ground in order to further increase the microalgal density, as well as the lipid accumulation. A higher attachment rate could generate higher lipid accumulation, which then could be converted into biodiesel. Therefore, few elements need to be studied in order to make this novel research becomes more efficient and can be applied in the industry. In the future collaboration, we also hope to collaborate with Petronas and also GPM Malaysia. In the Petronas, we also hope to use the platform to enhance the production process for the industry scale. And for GPM Malaysia, we also hope to implement the project for the practices in the future. That's all from us. Thank you for hearing and listening to our video. Bye bye.